Hello, my name is Rochelle Trejo, and I'm currently a freshman at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm majoring in marketing and company builders management with a minor in economics. I compiled this video filled with information from various sources to put together some answer as to why the gender wage gap is still happening today. So moving into the first graphic provided by the U.S. Department of Labor blog, this graph bar displays the median weekly earnings by sex and educational attainment, showing on average men are paid $1,219 per week and women $1,002. However, earnings increase with education. With less than a high school diploma, men receive $745 per week and women $594. With an advanced degree, men are paid $1,998 and women $1,546 per week. So what are some reasonings this is happening? Well, here's 5 from the same article where this bar graph was found, written by Wendy Chunhan. So stats: overall, women are not paid as much as men, even when working full-time and year-round. On average, women working full-time year-round are paid 83.7% of what men are paid. This inequity is even greater for Black and Hispanic women. Causes: women's labor is undervalued. Most of the disparity in women and men's pay cannot be explained by measurable differences between them. Out of the causes of the wage gap that we can measure, the main contributor is that women are most likely than men to work in low-paying jobs that offer fewer benefits. Education is not enough to eliminate the gender wage gap. On average, women have more years of education and are more likely than men to have completed associate's, bachelor's, or master's degrees. Yet, there is a significant gender wage gap at every level of education. Overall, women must complete one additional degree in order to be paid the same wages as a man with less education. Age: the gender wage gap does not resolve itself as women age and develop further in their careers. In fact, the wage gap for older women workers is larger than for younger women, and older Black and Hispanic women have the most extreme differences in pay. Occupations: the largest indefeasible causes of the gender wage gap are differences in the occupations and industries where women and men are most likely to work. Women are 2 out of every 3 full-time workers in occupations that pay less than $30,000 per year, and fewer than 1 in 3 full-time workers in jobs paying an average of $100,000 or more. However, even with the same occupations, women earn less on average than men. In addition to differences between men and women, a closer look at earnings reveals dramatic disparities in wages across race. Economics research has typically considered the gender wage gap separated from racial wage gaps, but this may miss important dynamics between race and gender in the labor market. While on average, white women in Minnesota earn 78 cents for every dollar earned by a white man, Black, Latina, and Native American women earn substantially less. This graphic displays Minnesota cents on the dollar, average wage, and salary income relative to white men. This graphic is sourced from the 2020 status of women and girls in Minnesota. Black and brown women are not only affected by a gender wage penalty, but by racial disparities in the labor market. This difference is more troublesome given that African American and Native American mothers are more likely to be the primary breadwinner in the family and more likely to be single parents. Moving into my third source, titled Gender Gap in U.S. Hasn't Changed Much in 2 Decades, written by Carolina Arago. Carolina writes on how the gender gap in pay has remained relatively stable in the United States over the past 20 years or so. In 2022, women earned an average of 82% of what men earned, according to a new Pew Research Center analysis of median hourly earnings of both full and part-time workers. These results are similar to where the gap stood in 2002, when women earned 80% as much as men. The graphic displays, although the gap has not closed in recent years, it is narrowing among young workers. As long has been the case, the wage gap is smaller for workers ages 25 to 34 than for all workers 16 and older. In 2022, women ages 25 to 34 earned an average of 92 cents for every dollar earned by a man in the same age group, an 8-cent gap. By comparison, the gender gap among workers of all ages that year was 18 cents. While the gender gap has not changed much in the last 2 decades, it has narrowed considerably when looking at longer term, both among all workers aged 16 and older and among those ages 25 to 34. The estimated 18-cent gender gap among all workers in 2022 was down from 35 cents in 1982, and the 8-cent gap among workers ages 25 to 34 in 2022 was down from a 26-cent gap from 4 decades earlier. So how did this happen? The gender gap measures the difference in median hourly earnings between men and women who work full or part-time in the United States. Pew Research Center's estimate of the pay gap is based on an analysis of current population survey, monthly outgoing rotation group files from January 1982 to December 22, combined to create annual files. To understand how we calculate the gender pay gap, read their 2013 post, How Pew Research Center Measured the Gender Pay Gap by Pew Research. The COVID-19 outbreak affected the data collection efforts by the U.S. government in its surveys, especially in 2020 and 2021, limiting in-person data collection and affecting response rates. It is possible the same measures of economic outcomes and how they vary across demographic groups are affected by these changes in data collection. In addition to findings about the gender wage gap, this analysis includes information from a Pew Research Center survey about the perceived reasons for the pay gap, as well as the pressures and career goals of U.S. men and women. The survey was conducted among 5,098 adults and includes a subset of questions asked only for 2,048 adults who are employed part-time or full-time from October 10th through 16th, 2022. Everyone who took part is a member of the Center's American Trends panel and an online survey panel that is recruited through national random sampling of residential addresses. This way, nearly all U.S. adults have a chance of selection. The survey is weighted to be representative of the U.S. adult population by gender, race, ethnicity, partisan affiliation, education, and other categories. Into the last source, titled 5 Reasons the Gender Pay Gap Exists. Yes, there's not just one, written by Laura Robertson for Future Women. I've come to love the Future Women Foundation as I followed them this semester on social media for my social media assignment for Sociology of Activism. They post great information on the gap and other things related to women. So, moving into 5 basic reasons why the gap exists. First being discrimination and bias in hiring and pay decisions, base pay gap. Gender bias at both a conscious and unconscious level is still very much alive around the world, although a study by Harvard Business Review found that women actually rank more highly than men in 17 out of the 19 leadership qualities, including problem-solving, communication skills, and innovativeness. Women are consistently overlooked by employers who still tend to view men as being more competent. Second, bonuses, bonus pay gap. Not only are women being shortchanged when it comes to hiring decisions and negotiating salaries, we're also receiving less in performance bonuses. An Australian study by Mercer found that men were receiving up to 35% more in performance bonuses than women despite receiving the same performance rating. Third, working in different industries with female-dominated industries attracting lower wages. Many discuss how women choose to go into lower-paid industries, including childcare, social work, teaching, and nursing, but few question why these female-dominated industries attract lower wages in the first place. A study that looked at U.S. Census data between 1950 and 2000 found when women entered a previously male-dominated industry, the average salary dropped. These findings led many social scientists to suggest that factors such as gender bias and social pressure not only devalue women's work, but also discourage women from pursuing higher-paid, male-dominated jobs. Fourth, women taking more time out of work to raise a family. As childbearers, women are still largely expected to be the ones who take time off work to raise children. However, the number of women having children is falling, while the number of men taking on more housework in the role of primary caregivers is on the rise. Hopefully these new trends mean more women will be able to pursue their careers regardless of whether they have a family or not. Fifth, lack of flexibility for mothers returning to work. Unfortunately, even if women return to work after having a child, they often face what is known as the motherhood penalty. As most workplaces still don't offer much flexibility for mothers, they are often forced to take on lower paying and less demanding jobs. However, even if they are able to find a job that suits them, mothers are much less likely to get interviewed compared to fathers and childless women. What's more, while women are penalized for having children, men are rewarded with research for academic publisher and university affiliated with Duke University Press. Finding fathers are more likely to be hired than childless men and tend to be paid more.